Alright, Travis, let's take a look at your paper. Alright, Travis, MLA site or format, sorry. This looks good, this looks good. You don't need the comma there. School memories is really weak. Plus, you don't need a bolded or underlined, so you want to change that. Start off with a quote. You have end punctuation here, so you don't need it here, so get rid of that one. And you'll actually need the website title here and not just where it says website. So the problem with this paragraph is basically at this point, you're jumping into your first body paragraph about freshman year. So everything up to this point is your introduction, and obviously you would need more in an introduction. Um, because I guess some of this is background, so it might be in the introduction, but you really don't do everything that you need to do in an introduction. So attention getting first statement, expand on that attention getting first statement, explain the topic, which is what that theme of high school was, introduce your main points that you're going to talk about, and then go on and talk about your thesis statement. So you're missing most of all of that in this first paragraph, so you want to go back and reformat that. So your next paragraph is about sort of the difficulty you went through, and your English teacher opening up and talking to you, and eventually it gets down to this. What I can tell you up to this point, Travis, everything that you've shared is poignant, is heartbreaking. Um, there's very few punctuation errors, which is awesome. Um, but this is reading like a narrative, and remember that this is a reflective essay. So you're reflecting on these things that are going on. So you want to go back and have a little bit better organization as far as this paragraph is going to be this. And a lot of this comes back to your introduction. It's just not where it needs to be, so it's hard to say where you're supposed to go. So that's really one of your big problems that you're going to have to tackle, Travis, in the future. But so he says, come to church, and then go from there. Transitions, we need transitions as we move throughout too. All right, so you get into going in here and the prayer and how it's helped you and so on and so forth. And again, all this stuff is good, Travis. I'm not saying that this information isn't good, but you're missing still the heart of the paper, which is to talk about your theme of high school. And if we go back and try to look at the beginning part here, basically you said you had your ups and downs, and it dealt with emotions, decisions, studies, friendships, etc., which I'm not sure what the etc. is. But you really haven't, other than saying that it was ups and downs, um, it's really hard to get a feel for where your paragraph should go. So obviously this is a down with this, but meeting Randy is an up. Um, Track is an up. Marching was an up. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to say what your theme is because you're just saying you had good times and bad times. What did you learn about those good times and bad times? How did it change your life, and so on and so forth? By the way, Mr. Longhorn is one of my best friends, so that's pretty cool that you mentioned him in here. Good, great details. I like the idea. I can get a visual of you dancing to a steel drum. I think that's really cool. Obviously, the details of this is really cool, but ultimately, what are you trying to say in your paper? And what is your paper about other than just recounting your entire high school experience? Do you have to talk about track? What is track teaching you about life? What did steel drum and band teach you about life? Those are the things that I need to know in your paper. All right, so you get into your first sophomore year, which eventually gets into your second sophomore year. And again, looking back, maybe this is a form of reflection at least, even though I'd still want you to have a theme. Like, why was it important about leaving St. Louis? Like, are you glad that you left St. Louis? Because you do eventually get to that and say, it was better with academics, and I made new friends, but maybe reflect a little bit more on that and what that means to you. You do have some comma splices in here that we can work on. Oh, of course I just missed it. I don't know where it's at right now, but go back and look and make sure that when you have a comma that it's used correctly. I'll find one, don't worry. Anyways, go through maybe some specifics. I like the specifics about this point in art class. It's intriguing that you never say names. Is it important? Are these friends still your friends today? Maybe you can reflect on that. Who are the friends that she introduced you to? Because you do jump pretty fast to you were a complete loner to Now I actually like Elmo because I made some friends. Well, I have one instance where you talk to people, but you know, how does that really fit in with the grand scheme of things? Uh, so getting into credit recovery in the National Guard, again, I think this is an important part, but what is it teaching you? What did credit recovery teach you? So there certainly are um, some built-in organizational things there, but you're just not using them right. Travis, you are telling a great story in this. I really love some of the details. You have some dialogue in here, which is good. Uh, I don't know what MOSs is. So, uh, and this would be a colon here to introduce these three things. Uh, Koch comma conjunctions too. He was field artillery comma, and he explained Cav Scout and field artillery to me, but immediately said infantry. This is a really good. I really like that line. He looked at me like I was a psychopath. And it's funny that he tried talking you out of it. That was intriguing. And maybe you could even talk about that. Remember, when you have a complete date, you need a comma after that. You have two commas here that you don't need. This was intriguing that you didn't even know that you were getting sworn in. That was pretty funny. Right afterwards, and then great details here that works well for your paper. But again, Travis, you're just telling me a story at this particular point. You're not really reflecting. There's not a theme for it right now, other than I still go back to the introduction. You talk about good times and bad times, but there's no theme for it yet, so you really got to work on that. Travis, again, you tell a great story. I really like the details. I especially like once you get to basic. I really like that. Even though it was a painful time, these are probably the idea of I read them in the dark and cry softly. That is a great line. So I really, even though it's obviously not a time in your life that you care to relive, but I like that you did that. Here's what I don't get. I tried to quit on the first day, but it failed. Does that mean they wouldn't let you quit, or what was the it? I don't know what the pronoun there is. So go back and you could really add a little bit more detail to that. I wasn't sure how that worked. So you had people there that were good for you. Took too flat. This is intriguing. You got there, proud as can be. I ran to a big hug and smile before. I felt amazing to be home, even though I was freezing. And then in the next sentence, or nearly next sentence, you're fighting like never before to the escalation of cursing matches. What do you get me by saying I saw everything differently and started having a lot more explicit nightmares? Nightmares about what? There's a good place for details. I've lost sleep from them and tried to figure out why I was having them. So maybe a couple more places you can add details. For a 10-page paper, you might be thinking, why do I need more detail? But I've already told you we need to rework this paper anyway, and make it less of a story and more of a reflection. All right, so we get to your friend, March 25th. You can actually just write 2-5 there. On March 25th, one of my best friends left this world, and it hit me hard. Watch in your paper, Travis, comma, conjunctions. We have a conjunction and two complete sentences. Make sure you put a comma in there. But you get to this, which is obviously pretty impactful for you, and how that could have hurt you, and I understand that. And then you get into this, which is your conclusion, and which doesn't do everything. Remember your conclusion, repeat your thesis statement, which you don't have, repeat your main points, which you don't do, and then you end on this, which I actually think is a really good thesis statement. It's giving you the tools and patience I need to solve day-to-day issues for the rest of my life. I think that is actually a really good message. Now, I don't think you say this in the paper, but I think that's a really good message. You don't have a works cited page, so that's going to count against you as well. So here's what I'm thinking, Travis. Let's say this is part of your introduction and this is your thesis statement. Then your main points become, here are the experiences that taught me tools and patience to solve problems. So then your paragraphs become about maybe talking to teachers, and they can use the example from St. Louis. Then it becomes maybe prayer. Then it becomes the military. Then it becomes schoolwork. you talk a little bit about maybe credit recovery, but that's how you should break down your paragraphs. What you've given me right now is just a really, really great story, but the assignment is not a narrative assignment. It is a reflective essay assignment. So while I commend you, Travis, I think you have great details. I think your voice is fantastic, and you're going to get high marks for that. You are going to get some low marks because it isn't what it should be assignment wise. So please come talk to me if you have questions. I'd love to help you do a rewrite because the bones of this are really good. The details in it are really good. We just got to organize them a little bit differently. Good luck.